When people find out that you speak a bunch of languages, there are three key questions that you get asked over and over again. The first one is, how many languages do you speak? Now, for me, I don't learn languages to count them. I just started learning languages. It was more of a natural thing, and I just love languages and patterns. And so I really hate that question because I don't want to just have to sit and count them. And honestly, the difference between whether something is a language or not a language, more often than not, it's politics than linguistic differences. So that's that out of the way. The next one is, can you say hello in 20 different languages? And while that might be fun, doing these kind of monkey tricks, it gets a bit boring, it gets a bit stale, to the point that if people ask me on interviews anymore, I just don't want to do these kinds of monkey tricks. I want to talk about things that are really going to help and inspire people to speak languages. But the third question is, in what languages do you dream? Or what languages do you dream in? People say don't put the preposition last. But anyway, it sounds normal in English. What languages do you dream in? In what languages do you dream? Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is because it's not even 5 a.m. at the moment. I've just woken up. I'm about to travel down to Chonburi to see my aerospace client. And I had a doozy of a dream that I think would be fascinating for anybody who has ever asked the question, in what language or languages do you dream? As a polyglot, as somebody who speaks multiple languages. And a lot of people, maybe they ask this question because they kind of think that there's an association or there is a relationship between how fluent you are in a language and what language you dream in. And there might be some kind of truth to it. So I tell you what, this is what I'll do. I'll tell you the dream first, and then I'll tell you my take on the dream. So I dreamt that I was in a huge shopping center and I was walking around, and in the food court, I could hear in the distance people speaking Indonesian. And it was a mixture of Indonesian and Javanese. And so I walked up to them and they were Indonesian. I said, "Apa kabar?" And rather than saying, "Oh, you speak Indonesian," they just all turned to me as if they already knew me. And so we started speaking, and they asked me why the government had banned Lazada. So I started to explain to them in Indonesian why the government had banned Lazada. Now, for those who don't know, Lazada is like Amazon.com in Thailand, and I think it's across Southeast Asia. You have Shopee, you have Lazada, these other online platforms, and there's a big controversial issue to do with lèse majesté, the monarchy, where somebody has done something that they probably shouldn't, and so now the government has come and they're looking to ban Lazada and punish them for this act. Whether somebody agrees or not, that's not for this channel. But anyway, so I was describing to them what had happened in Indonesian. Now get this is the crazy thing. As I was speaking in Indonesian to them in my dream, and I was very lucidly telling them the story of why the government was looking to ban Lazada and what had happened. But crazy things started to happen as I was speaking Indonesian. So I'd be saying things like this. Ya, belakang ini ratabannya di Thailand ada banyak kejadian yang telah terjadi. Wah, aduh, bukan ratabannya itu bahasa Thailand ya. Belakang ini pemerintahan di Thailand ada banyak kejadian yang telah terjadi. And I would actually be speaking to them, and every 10th word or so in my dream, I would be throwing in a word in Thai into the flow of Indonesian, and then in my dream picking it up and going back and correcting myself in Indonesian what the word should have been, and changing it from Thai and apologizing that the Thai is being thrown in there in the Indonesian, and even mentioning to them that possibly the reason why the Thai word is being switched into Indonesian is maybe because of the prosody or the resemblance to the Sanskrit word. There's the word rataban. Rataban in Thai is government. In Indonesian, the word for government is pemerintahan. But then also in the back of my mind, because I was thinking of certain politicians that this had to do with. So in Thai, politicians are like Lata Montri, but this word Montri, which comes from Sanskrit, in Indonesian is Menteri. And so I just felt in the back this whole cloud between my Thai and Indonesian that I was having to filter out in my dream as I was speaking to these people in the food court of the supermarket that I was trying to describe this happening to. And it happened over and over again. And then I told myself in the dream, just say it and it will come out properly because it's in my muscles. Don't think it. So it's almost as if I knew that I was in a dream telling them this, but actually I had to activate my muscles to have the Indonesian kick back into my muscles. It was insane. And so for those people who say, what language do you dream in? In what language do you dream? I really believe that what you dream in, whether you've been learning a language for a few days or an entire lifetime, I've been speaking Indonesian since I was a kid. I think your dreams are not so much a guide as to how fluent you are in that language, but actually dreams are just reflecting what had happened in that day. Now, I can tell you exactly why I think that I dreamt what I did and even why that happened. So what happened? I'll start off. Yesterday morning, I woke up, and I normally wake up probably around this time, 5 a.m., and I went down to the 7-Eleven and I got my coffee. And in most of the 7-Elevens here, the staff come from the southern provinces of Thailand. So Yala, Nalathiwat, and Pattani. And so I'll go in there and I'll speak in Malay or Kelantan dialect. And when I'm speaking in Kelantan dialect, I have to be very conscious. First of all, I switch my Indonesian into Malay, and then I switch my Malay into Kelantan dialect. So for example, the word apa in Malay, apa in Kelantan, opo. So ngapa-apa in Indonesian, it doesn't matter, turns into tapapa in Malay, is topo in Kelantan. And so there's all of these stages of self-correction when I'm speaking to staff in 7-Eleven into Indonesian, Malay, Kelantan dialect, where I'm consciously correcting myself. Another word like jangan becomes jange, makan becomes make. These are the shifts into Kelantan dialect. So it's this constant shift that I'm moving from Indonesian into Malay. And then also I'll be mixing Thai with them. And so that just happened yesterday morning and it was still fresh. Hold that there. That's one thing that happened. Another thing that happened is that I went to a press conference. There was this big opening of a new water theme park and a whole new set of things for tourists to do in Phuket. My wife has a hotelier magazine and they talk about tourism and events and things like that. And so we attended this event and there were all of these ministers getting up on stage. It was actually in a cinema and they were presenting in Thai. And they were speaking. Now, my daughter's just come across from Australia and she is a native Thai speaker, but she has the Thai of maybe a 7 or an 8-year-old, and then she moved there. So she still spoke Thai growing up, but there's a lot of more complex Thai that she needs to fit into her Thai to bring her up to the level where she'll be doing business and official presentations in Thai. And so I was listening out for the language that the ministers, these Latamontri, were using, and then saying, oh, did you know that word? This is this. And so I was also helping her correct that. And I was discussing what they were talking about, the government was talking about, and what they were planning in doing in Phuket. So that's another thing. Hold that there. Then there was this huge news yesterday of Lazada banning Thailand, and there were these memes going around. So when the Thai government, it's a military government, so when the Thai government sees something about human rights atrocities and look it up in the news, and it's like they're just, oh, what? We don't know. And this little meek kind of sheep, when they see these horrible things happening in the army to new conscripts going in and abuses and things, it's like, what? Oh, we don't know. But as soon as something happens that is against something that I'm not allowed to talk about here, they turn into Godzilla and they attack like this. And so this is what I was actually describing to Indonesians in my dream. And I think yesterday, the reason why Indonesia was triggered was because in the newspapers, they spoke about Lazada being in Jakarta. And that word Jakarta popped up to me. And I didn't realize that Lazada was in Jakarta. And so that was like this point of realizing yesterday in real life. And so have a look at this now. My experiences from yesterday, I have the experience in the 7-Eleven, switching languages and constantly changing between English to Thai to Indonesian to Malay to Kelantan. So it's this self-correction that was happening. So that was going on there. And then I had the happening of going to this press conference. Now, this press conference was at Paragon in Siam. And so this is this huge shopping center. We had lunch in the food court, which is why there was this food court in the shopping center. And then the Indonesian aspect from the Jakarta popping up, probably as well as me speaking Indonesian to Malay to the Southern Thai shop assistant. And so Indonesia, I guess, had 2 points there that were in my subconscious. And then the government ministers getting up on stage and presenting. And so I was presenting, describing what was in this news article to them. And then the crazy thing was that I was actually telling myself to speak so that my muscle memory would kick in rather than trying to think of the words. That was insane, and that was in a dream. It was good advice, I think, because when I actually say it, I don't pronounce the words wrong, or I don't actually choose the Thai word to go into my Indonesian. The flow of Indonesian just kicks into my muscles. And so that came out. But this dream is like less than 1 hour old. I just woke up and from this dream. But it just goes to show you that dreaming, I think, it doesn't so much tell you where you are in a language, but it does tell you that this language is starting to have a role in your life. It's starting to take this center stage that has meaning to you. And I can tell you, when I was learning Russian recently, my Russian isn't any good, but I was dreaming about cases. I was dreaming about cheat sheets so I could see the nominative, accusative, the dative, and all of these, even though that I'm not fluent in Russian and my Russian is by no means in a position where it should be, the natural language that's coming out. I was dreaming of these things because I was seeing them every day, and they were the things that were occupying my brain time. So anyway, in what language do you dream? I dream in everything. My dreams are just a reflection of my subconscious, of what goes on during the day, and that's pretty much it. So let me know, in what languages do you dream? Don't forget to scan the QR code. Come and chat in Discord. I'm Stuart J. Raj. I'll see you on the other side.